Today I want to go over a basic overview of taxes. How do they work? What are taxes? When do you pay them? Can you prepare them yourself? This should be a short and brief video, so please I ask that you watch it in its entirety so that you make sure that you catch every important detail that will be covered in its entirety. So the video will be short, but again, we will discuss typical income, typical tax forms received, what you need to bring, what you need to gather in order to get your taxes prepared. So again, if you can, don't mind like, subscribe, and share if you do find this information helpful, and please support the channel. So let's start off from the top. So taxes are paid on a calendar year, January to December. So January 1st to December 31st. You file your tax returns based on that prior tax year. So in this particular example, it'll be January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. Those taxes are due on April 15th of the next following year. So in this example, it'll be April 15th, 2025. Unless April 15th falls on a weekend or holiday, it's typical is Patriots Day, which is a Washington, D.C. holiday, in which case they will be due on the next business day. So in this example, again, as I mentioned, you are filing your 2024 taxes from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024 by April 15th, 2025. Taxes are based on the cash basis. So this means when you receive cash. So if you're taking into consideration your paydays, your employer will cover all payroll paid from January 1st to December 31st based on paydays, not pay periods. So again, if your payday falls on a Friday, it's based on that particular day. So that payday has to fall within the calendar year. Pay periods are irrelevant when it comes to taxes. Similar to any deductions, these are based on when they are paid, not when the bill is received. So step one, when you're getting ready for tax time, is you want to make sure that you gather all of your information. And I'll go through some of this information in forms that you can receive to determine your specific tax situation and what forms that you will need. So let's go through the income first. So the two most common sources of income is self-employed and an employee. If you're self-employed, you will receive a 1099 NEC. And if you're an employee, you will receive a W-2 at the end of the year. All right, so let's start again. Let's go into first details of if you're self-employed. So if you're self-employed, you will be paid for your services. Typically, you will need to submit an invoice for these services, and you are paid by the person you are completing the services for. You set your schedule, you bring your own tools or equipment, depending upon what it is that you're doing, and you set your own rate and payment terms. If you receive over $600, you will receive a 1099 NEC from that individual that you did work from. You may receive multiple of these depending upon how many people you completed work for. You will also need to keep track of those payments and expenses, and a good way to do so is to utilize a tax software such as QuickBooks or anything else that's, I think I've heard of Zoho Books or anything else to track your business expenses and your business income. As you will need to refile these, you'll need to report these on your tax return. If this is your particular case, you'll need to file a Schedule C on your tax return. And you will also need to make estimated payments if your tax liability is greater than $1,000 in the prior year. You want to make sure that you're making estimated tax payments. And I did make a video on that prior, so go on ahead and check that video out in my channel as well. If you do have this tax situation, I do just want to give you a heads up that regardless of what you have, if you do self-prepared or paid by a professional, you will be paying more money and you will definitely be excluded from the free file on here. So just kind of give you that as a heads up. The next category is an employee. You are an employee if you receive a regular paycheck and your employer withholds taxes from your paycheck and sends them to the government as they pay you. At the end of the year, you receive a W-2 from them. The components of the W-2 are reported as wages, state and federal taxes withheld. Social Security tax and Medicare are not considered on your tax return, as you pay those in the exact amount and the exact rate per pay period, and it's remitted by your employer. So your state and federal taxes are basically an estimate of how much taxes you're going to owe at the end of the year, and again, you basically reconcile those at the end of the year, and I'll get to that later in the video. Okay, now let's get into some deductions. So if you own your own home and you have a mortgage, you will receive a 1098. This 1098 is received directly from your lender, and the 1098 reports interest that you paid throughout the year, real estate taxes that you paid if you have an escrow account, as well as the opening balance of your mortgage, because again, if it's over the $750,000, it will be limited. But again, most individuals won't have to worry about that. If you attended college, you'll receive a 1098-T. This will come directly from the college or university and typically needs to be downloaded from your school's account. This reports scholarships and tuition paid, whether that be through loans or cash, and this allows you to take the American Opportunity Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit. You must reduce your tuition paid by the total scholarships that you receive throughout the year. Also, make sure that all boxes are checked correctly on your tax return. Again, sticking with the students, if you are a prior student or your loans are in repayment and you did pay student loan interests, you will receive a 1098-T. This is received directly from your loan servicer company. So whether that be Nelnet or one of the other popular ones out there, that's where you'll get that from, and you typically have to download it from the website as they will not send it. And then this is for interest that you paid to them on your student loans, and that is deductible depending upon your income limits. If you have a savings account or you cash in savings bonds, you may receive a 1099 INT. This is from the bank. So if you have a savings account with a specific bank, say Bank of America, they will send it to you. If you cash in savings bonds that say Bank of America will send you a 1099 INT if the amount that was paid is greater than $10. Again, you can download this directly from your bank. If you had investments, stocks, bonds, and crypto, you will receive a 1099-B. This, again, will come from the specific place that whoever holds your investments, so that could be a Fidelity, a Morgan Stanley. They will issue that and send that. These are typically a little bit later, so don't expect to have these until probably late January to the middle to late February. And again, you only report income on stocks when you sell them. The unrealized market gains that the price of the stock goes up and down is not recognized as income, so that will not be included on there. So if you have no stock sales and you receive no dividends or interest, then you may not receive one of these. But again, I would double check if you do hold investments that's outside of your 401k. If you do have a 401k with work, you will not receive a tax form, and you do not need to report it unless you cashed it in or rolled it over in the specific tax year. If you did cash it in and or roll it over, you will receive a 1099-R, and this will need to be reported on your tax return. This would come directly from whomever services your 401k. So the major one is Empower Retirement. Again, you can download that online from the particular website from your account. Again, as I had mentioned, the majority of these tax forms can be downloaded online. And in fact, some companies will not even send them to you anymore, and they won't even put them in the mail. So you just got to make sure that you go on ahead and check your accounts, know what you have, keep a list of what you have throughout the year. That'll make it easier when it comes tax time. So then you can just know, okay, I got to go to Bank of America, I got to go to Fidelity, and I got to check for my tax forms. And then that way you won't miss anything. Again, anything that's mailed out will say tax form on the envelope. So just look out for that. So put it aside when it comes in the mail. So pretty much what happens when you actually file your tax return, how do you get a refund or a balance due? So basically throughout the year, all you're essentially doing is you're estimating your income, and you're estimating the taxes that you're going to owe at the end of the year based upon that estimated income. When you file your tax returns, you're combining all of your income together to determine your final tax tables, your final level of deductions, and everything else that goes along with it. So basically, the difference between what you paid in, whether that be through withholdings or estimated taxes, less any credits that you receive that you're eligible for, will either be a balance due or a refund that is owed to you. And that's what happens when you file your tax return. The IRS is an organization that if you are owed money back from them, you have to prove to them that you are owed money back from them. And the way that you do that is through filing a tax return. If you do not file your tax return, they will not send you back your refund. However, if it's the other way around and you owe money, they could potentially send you a tax notice. So again, you just want to be careful and just make sure that your tax return gets filed timely. You do have 3 years to go back and amend if you do miss a form. However, again, as I always say, it's not advisable. I always like to say minimize your touch points with the IRS. In addition to the above, you will need a copy of your prior year tax return if you filed one. If you did not file one, then you will not need that. You should have a copy of your driver's license or the physical driver's license with you, as well as your social security number if you don't know that by heart, in addition to your dependent's social security number and your date of birth and your dependent's date of birth. So you'll need all of those items in order to file your tax return. Finally, you have 2 options to basically file your tax return. If you want to save money and you have a basic tax situation, so say you just have a W-2, maybe you own your home, maybe you have student loan interest or just, tuition. I definitely say that you can file your tax return on your own. It is very easy. You can utilize one of the national tax software such as TurboTax, H&R Block. Although I don't have any direct experience, necessarily with either of them. I have heard positive things about both softwares as well, some negatives about both softwares as well. So I think, either which way you slice it, I think you won't have a hard time filing with either of them. They're very user friendly, very intuitive. So I 100% would suggest utilizing one of the national brands that will definitely stick behind the product. It seems like TurboTax is a little bit bigger in size, so that would probably be the way that I would suggest to go again. And again, these things will walk you through it step by step. So if you have a more basic tax situation, you can by all means go on ahead and do it yourself. Again, a lot of them have free file options, but be sure to review the website for the specific tax forms that are included in there so that there is no surprises at the end of the prep. As well as they will be able to prep your state return as well, which will come at an additional cost in most cases. So again, just want to make sure that you review the website for those specific pricings, as it can be buried, but just make sure that you look at the list of forms required. So basically, I pretty much listed out the forms, so you should be able to tell if you have any of those forms that are not included in the tax return. You should be able to tell based off of what I had listed out. In addition, I would set aside 2 hours. I did do a video prior to this, and I think the estimated time was 30 minutes. Although I put in fictitious numbers, I would suggest that it's going to take you upwards of 2 hours to review it, make sure you answer all the questions, take your time, especially if you're new at doing your taxes. So just kind of keep that in mind. And again, think if that's something that you want to get yourself involved into. A lot of these national tax companies also have a full service option, or you can go in person and do them. Again, you're going to be paying probably pretty close to the price that you would pay for a local CPA, enrolled agent, or tax preparer to do your taxes. So you're probably better off going to them as, you have somebody that's a direct contact that you can, reach out to at any given time if you have any questions or whatnot. So again, just kind of keep that in mind as well. So again, that kind of goes into the second option, whereas you can hire a local CPA, enrolled agent, or tax preparer to do your taxes in order to get it done. This way, this person has expertise, they can answer your questions, and then you can be sure that your taxes are done correctly and accurately. Either which way that you go, you should get the exact same result at the end of it. Again, the only time you won't get the exact same result is if you answered a question wrong, or if you missed a specific tax form, or you didn't tell somebody, specific information in there. I typically tell people, it's a matter of opportunity cost. Do you have the 2 hours that you want to devote, sit down, spend, and do your tax return? Or would you rather just hand your stuff off, give it to somebody who's a professional, knows what they're doing? It might cost you a little bit more money, but you don't have to worry about it. If you get a tax notice, they'll handle the tax notice as long as you go to somebody reputable. Again, that's completely is up to you which route that you go. So again, hopefully you found this video helpful, useful. Please like, subscribe, leave comments down below if you have tax questions. Happy to answer anything that you have. And again, thanks everybody.